Over the last week or two, I've been grinding away at the Doom franchise. A lot of people consider this to be one of the greatest gaming series ever and a key player in the early days of the FPS genre. Now, there are quite a few Doom games, and just like our experience with the Fallout franchise, I wanted to get a good understanding of everything. So I decided to play through the first 4 Doom games, starting with the oldest title we've played to date, Doom 1993. Doom's reputation is very well known, and the fact that it dates back so far, I knew I needed to start with this one. Now, this sucker is pretty old, so don't expect too much when it comes to graphics. And the only other games we've played so far that come close to this one's age is Banjo-Kazooie and Grim Fandango, which were both released 5 years later in 1998. Right out the gate on the original Doom, you are hit with a soundtrack that just makes you want to take off sprinting and shoot everything. But don't expect to hit anything right away, because the game feels nothing like your typical shooters today. In these older Doom games, you can only look left and right, which feels extremely odd for the first few minutes, but once you get your sensitivity dialed in, it honestly doesn't feel that bad. The only time you'll really notice it once you're used to everything is when you're trying to go up or down some steps. Gameplay-wise, you legit just run around at Mach 5 shooting everything you see. The maps are kind of set up like a maze or a dungeon crawling game, where each area gives you upgrades on your weapons or armor, or helps to unlock doors in other rooms. And the pacing of everything really keeps your attention. You're constantly finding new weapons or different enemy types to fight. It is pretty hard to find your way at times, but you'll always eventually hit the right path. Also, at the end of each level, you get to see your stats and par time. This honestly made me want to replay some of the missions to see if I could beat my previous time and score, and I could kind of see why speedrunning this game is so popular. Now, like the Fallout video, I'm going to wait till the end to rate all these, but let's go ahead and jump into Doom 2. The original Doom and Doom 2 are almost identical in how they look and play. The only differences that I seemed to notice was that in Doom 2, it seemed to be slightly faster paced when it came to finding new weapons and different enemies to fight, and the levels did seem to be a little more in-depth and technical. They felt like they had more layers and a little bit more diversity when comparing it to the original Doom. There was one level that really stuck out to me. You're in a circle room with like 6 to 8 doors surrounding you, and you have to pick which room to go in and at what order. Each one has different enemies and weapons at the end waiting for you, and for the life of me, I could not beat all of these rooms in one sitting. I legit grinded this endlessly and would always run out of ammo or just mess up and die. So I'm not really sure what's past this level, but I did enjoy my experience. Now, Doom 64 did feel quite a bit different than the other two. This was originally made for the Nintendo 64 back in 1997, and I do think it has better graphics in general than the other two Dooms, but I did prefer the gun models and the weapon animations on the originals. Out of these 3 Doom games, I did play the Nintendo 64 version the most, but I honestly don't know why. They all are almost identical. Now, before we move on to the more modern era of Doom, I wanted to say a few things about these more retro or classic titles. They really make you appreciate how far gaming has come in recent years, but also remind you that you don't need all that fluff from today's titles to have a good game. Because I honestly still had a great time only being able to look left and right and just killing every demon I came across. It's also really cool to see what the FPS genre was and what it's become today. But either way, let's go ahead and jump into the more modern era with Doom 3. I originally played this game for about an hour and I hated it. Shooting felt really clunky and I couldn't see anything. Also, if you died and had relied on the autosave feature, it would set you back a solid 10 to 15 minutes. But then I ended up getting a new gaming TV, and for some reason I had the itch to jump back on it, and I don't know what happened, but I couldn't quit playing. As you can see, Doom 3 does look drastically different from the original 3 games. It has way more modern graphics and play style, and it's in full 3D and you can actually look up and jump around. Once I hooked it up to the new TV, I was so impressed with how good it looked that I was shocked to find out that it released back in 2004, even before the Xbox 360 came out. Now, gameplay-wise, it wasn't nearly as fast as the original 3, but was still plenty intense. Ammo, armor, and health all seemed to be a little more scarce, which really made you think through every encounter. The levels did feel a little more linear and straightforward compared to the original games, but they still gave you plenty of options and different paths to take, so it did fit my playstyle pretty well. The gameplay also helps guide you through the story, which is basically absent from the first few games, which was a big plus for me. Doom 3 also does a really good job of setting the scene with bodies and gore all around and all the sound effects. So overall, it was a very refreshing experience. I enjoyed the story well enough to keep playing and was really impressed at how much this game had to offer at its age. And I do believe it had a multiplayer. I don't really know if you can still play it now on GamePass, and this kind of includes all the Doom titles. After my last playthrough of Doom 3, which lasted about 3 hours, I decided it was time to take a break from all the demons and save the 2 newest Doom games for another time. Let's get into the ratings of these 4 titles. Doom 1993 and Doom 2 were basically identical, but that one level that stuck in my head from Doom 2 makes me think that maybe it's slightly better than the original. So Doom 1993 is getting a 7 out of 10, and Doom 2 and Doom 64 are both getting a 7.1 out of 10. Doom 3, on the other hand, is getting an 8.1 out of 10. I kind of wanted to bump it up to a 9 just because of how much time I put into it, but its shooting and clunky controls just wouldn't allow me to rank it any higher. It was a really good experience getting to try all the OG FPS games, and really reminds you to try and enjoy a game for what it is and not what it could be. Thank y'all so much for watching, and if you made it this far, leave a comment of what you think Game 70 is, and the only hint I'll be giving you is that it's a solid 10 out of 10. I'm looking forward to y'all's guesses, and I'll see you in the next one.